Let's focus on these function buttons really quick on the Pfaff Creative 4.5 sewing machine. So first off, these two will control your foot coming down on the fabric or coming up, but they have an extra little bonus. So for example, right now the foot's just at its normal height. If I touch the presser foot up button, it goes up even further, and you might have heard an extra click. And what that was is that the feed dogs lower. So if you're looking to get something really thick in here, touch that up button, the foot goes up and the feed dogs go down, giving you even more space to get thick items in there. Then as soon as you step on your foot control, everything goes back down, feed dogs get re-engaged, and you're set to go. If you want to stop with the presser foot, if you just need to lift the presser foot up in the middle or lower it down, you can do this, but just know that as soon as you step on your foot control, if the foot is up, it goes down on your fabric. The easiest way to get your presser foot up is to use the thread snips. So just touch the thread snips, and then it will go ahead and cut the thread and lift the foot up. So that's the easiest. I know I always watch people and they lower the presser foot down, which is fine. There is times where I want to lower it and see where I'm starting, but most of the time just step on your foot control. So let me show you the next thing. There's another trick with the presser foot down button. So when you push this, it goes down on the fabric. Yes, easy to do. But if you touch it again, it pops the foot up oh so slightly. So if I need to move my fabric just a little bit to the left or to the right and get it to be exactly where I need it to start, that brings it up so it's loose and I can give it some minute shifting, and yet my needle's close enough to the fabric that I can see where it's going to go. Then again, step on your foot control, and that would lower the presser foot down and start to stitch. Now another thing you do have is that you have a start-stop button. This is designed for embroidery, but you can also use it for sewing. Now before I touch it, because if I do, I'm at full speed. It's going to really go quickly. I'm going to just slow it down by touching my speed control option. So when I touch it, I get a medium speed. I can touch it to stop it. I can touch it to go again. And I can adjust that speed by touching and holding. I can bring that to be even less speed. So I can really control if I want it to go slower or faster. That'd be a nice slow speed. And again, easy to go ahead and start and stop. If you don't have your foot control with you for some reason accidentally, you have a way to run this machine. Next, let's talk about the thread snips. The thread snips are when you sew, if you're going to go ahead, oh, let's speed this baby up. All right, when you sew, if you're sewing and while you touch it, it will actually add an extra locking stitch. So I had to touch it while I was sewing, it locked it, now it's cutting it, and it lifts the presser foot up. So I end up with a little extra security at the end. If I'm just sewing and I stop, then touch it, immediate cut. So it just depends on if you want that locking stitch or not, when to push that. This is the immediate tie-off button. What it'll do is add a little locking stitch immediately. So if you touch it, you get a locking stitch. So that's just super easy. So push it, and if I go ahead and touch it, it locks it and stops. And then you can touch the thread snips and it will cut the thread and lift the foot if you're done with your seam. Now, of course, remember, this one will do both of these all at once. Now, this is a pattern, like a stitch restart button. So let me show you what this might mean. Let's go ahead and go to a decorative stitch. Just something that when I start stitching, you can see that if I was to start in the, or stop in the middle, I'm gonna just take it out real quick here, that if I go, oh gosh, that's not what I wanted, and maybe I need to start somewhere else, I take out these stitches. If I start sewing again, this is going to start halfway through the pattern. Stitch restart here will bring that repeat back to the beginning, and I'll be back at the beginning of the sequence while I'm going. So, super easy. Also, if I use the immediate tie-off, I can tie off in the middle of anything there. It's really quite easy. And let me just do one more thing here. If I'm stitching, good. If I touch the pattern restart in the middle of my pattern while I'm stitching, it will also stop at the end of the sequence. So it kind of does both a beginning and an ending option. So another thing too for the last one is our needle up-down feature. I think a lot of us do appreciate having that. Let's just go back to a straight stitch. category 1, subcategory 1, stitch 1, and now stopping with the needle down does allow the foot to come up and pivot. So I love that feature if I'm doing applique or stitching around really small items. If I'm free motion quilting, I want to be able to move, and then when I stop sewing, I want the needle to hold my fabric. And then once again, thread snips allow it will cut the thread and finish by lifting up the presser foot. This is still on because we didn't turn it off, so when I go sew again, the needle will stop in the down position. So I hope you'll really get comfortable with these buttons, because the more you understand them, the easier they are, and they're right at your fingertips for a reason. These are the ones that sewers have said over the years that they use the most and want it right at their fingertips.